Hello from Epic Snap Stories. Today I'm going to explain a mystery, thriller movie called Arctic Void. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The film opens in Longyearbyen, an archipelago which is the northernmost settlement on Earth. Two best friends from America, Ray Marsh and Alan Mersault, arrive at the only airport in the area. They're here to shoot an adventure TV show that Ray hosts and Alan directs. However, there are no means of transportation outside the airport. This makes the director quite irate as they have a boat to catch in 15 minutes. But Ray spots a local man standing nearby, and uses his help to summon a cab. After waiting for a few minutes, the two are picked up by a van and taken to their destination. They are then dropped off at a fishing port, where a tour boat is waiting for them. Upon their arrival, they're greeted by a man named Sean Tibbets, an amateur cameraman. It is revealed that they hired him just 2 days ago as their regular guy couldn't get a visa. Alan, who is still cranky to arrive here at the last minute, doesn't introduce himself or even acknowledge Sean. However, the charming Ray makes up for his friend's behavior by shaking the newbie's hand. We then get to know that Sean is an ex-army brat who has never done any kind of TV show. After a while, they get on their tour boat, where a guide named Jim greets all the passengers. He is a quirky man and the tourists seem delighted to listen to his introduction. Later, Alan joins Sean at the ship's dining area, and apologizes for his rude behavior earlier. He then explains about their project and why they came here from America. Sean, however, seems secretive about his own personal life and quickly leaves to get some footage from the ship's deck. Seconds later, Ray joins his friend at the table with a small bottle of booze. He is a very well-mannered man who doesn't take anything too seriously. During their conversation, his attention is drawn to a lunchbox on the table that belongs to Sean. Ray opens it without hesitation, and finds a bunch of sound equipment inside. Curious, he turns on the retro audio reels and puts on the headphones. He then listens to the tapes that seem to contain whale songs for quite some time. Alan doesn't like the idea of touching other people's stuff without permission, but Ray urges him to listen to the tapes. The scene then cuts to a few hours later and we see Alan in his cabin, texting his wife. It is revealed that they had a fight recently, and he's been trying to apologize. But his messages go undelivered since there seems to be no cellular service in the area. After that, the three men head to the dock and begin shooting the intro for their show. They even enlist the help of Jim the tour guide. Later, as they are wrapping up, Ray comes across a seagull with bloody eye sockets. This creeps him out a little but he doesn't think much about it. Ray then goes to meet Alan, who is sitting at the bar, looking upset. He tries to console his friend and asks if everything is alright. However, the director only gets more annoyed and comments that this job is tearing his marriage apart. He is frequently away from home and his children and it's taking a toll on his mental health. As the two continue talking, they are interrupted by a commotion outside. It turns out the rest of the tourists are watching a horrific sight of a walrus killing its own calf on top of an iceberg. This shocks all of them, and even Jim, a local to this area, has never seen anything like this before. To calm the atmosphere, he summons the passengers to a barbecue out on the dock. He then explains that they're having local whale meat, which is quite a delicacy in this part of the world. While everyone else delves in, Ray refuses to take a single bite of the meat because it looks gross. But Alan has already gobbled up a few good pieces without hesitation. Soon enough, he announces that he's having stomach issues, and excuses himself to the bathroom. After some time, Alan rejoins Ray at the back deck and the duo resumes their chat. Sean, meanwhile, is on the front deck filming the tourists on the boat. He notices a flock of birds flying nearby and turns his camera towards it. Right then, Jim the tour guide seems to notice something in the distance which makes him anxious. Suddenly, the power on the boat goes out and the entire place becomes quiet. Sean looks around in bewilderment as he realizes that the front deck is empty. However, he doesn't seem too disturbed by the events and heads inside to use the bathroom. On the other hand, Ray and Alan return to the front deck, only to find it completely empty. The belongings of the other passengers are scattered all around the floor. They head inside and search every corner of the boat, but it is all deserted. Moments later, Sean comes out of the bathroom and seems surprised to see the two Americans. Alan informs him that the boat is empty and asks if he knows what happened. But Sean claims he has no idea and suggests they go in different directions to search for clues. He then heads to the engine room downstairs where he secretly takes out a satellite phone. Sean tries to contact someone for help but is unable to get cellular reception. On the other side, Alan stands alone on the deck, looking at a video of his children on his phone. He looks very emotional and suddenly starts coughing up blood. Meanwhile, Ray finds a comms radio in the captain's cabin and begins calling out for help. But he too receives no response despite trying several frequencies. He then picks up a pair of binoculars and tries looking out. To his relief, Ray realizes the boat has drifted close to land and a settlement is not far from them. He quickly goes to Sean and informs him about the nearby town. After a bit of discussion, the two agree to set up a raft to get there. They then start packing up all the necessary stuff, including a rifle. Meanwhile, Alan notices a camera on the floor that belonged to a group of German tourists on board. He puts it in his pocket and heads to the back deck. There, Ray tells him about the nearby settlement and asks him to quickly pack his bag. Ray also notices a gash on Alan's throat, but the latter has no clue how and when it appeared. After patching up the wound, the three men step onto the raft and head for the town. They soon reach the bank where Sean suggests that they stay together because he senses that something is off. The trio then explores the town, but finds it completely empty. After a while, they enter a building and hear thudding coming from nearby. This prompts them to have a look, and they soon come across a stag inside one of the rooms. It is gravely wounded and bleeding out of its mouth. The creepy sight makes them leave the building and head outside once more. After walking for a while, the trio hears a strange coming from a nearby building. They rush inside, only to find a TV displaying static waves. A frustrated Ray kicks it in anger because he was hoping for something better. Just then, Alan starts groaning and suddenly collapses to the ground. He feels a stinging sensation in his left leg, causing him to roll up his pants. To everyone's horror, there is yet another nasty gash near his knee. Despite Alan being in such a condition, Sean announces that they should continue exploring the area. Therefore, Ray leaves with him, promising to come back for his friend. Some time after the duo has left, Alan starts getting delirious. He walks out of the building in a trance, and keeps on walking until he's in the middle of nowhere. All of a sudden, he notices a polar bear heading towards him. The animal also seems to be suffering as it is covered with several wounds. Luckily, instead of attacking, it leaves Alan alone and walks away. On the other side of the town, Ray and Sean find an apartment building with lights coming from several of its windows. They excitedly enter, hoping they might finally meet someone. Once inside, they decide to split up to quickly search the building. Sean then goes upstairs where he hears music coming from one of the rooms. He enters it and finds a vinyl recorder playing, with no one else around. Meanwhile, Ray enters one of the ground floor rooms, only to find a hot bowl of soup left unattended on the table. He is exhausted and tries to process everything that's been happening. Just then, Ray hears a loud bang and looks out of the window. He sees a flare shot up to the sky and guesses it might be someone calling for help. An excited Ray then gets out of the building to check, only to find Alan there, looking bewildered. Ray takes his dear friend back to the building where he was moments ago. Once safely inside, he lays Alan down on a couch and goes to chat with Sean. Alan's condition seems to have gotten worse and it is evident that he requires urgent medical help. He takes out the camera he found on the boat and begins going through it to keep his mind occupied. It contains a video recorded by the German tourists on the deck of the boat. To his horror, Alan sees that the tourists suddenly vanished while they were still recording. He also sees that Sean was on the deck and clearly saw what happened. Following this revelation, Alan gathers what's left of his strength and struggles to tell Ray about it. But the latter is engaged in a conversation with Sean and ignores what he has to say. Ray argues that they should leave town and go back to the sea as soon as possible. But Sean is opposed to the idea, claiming that it will take at least 4 hours to get there. He argues that the raft doesn't have enough fuel to take them back to the boat. However, Ray is adamant in his decision, so he goes out to look for some fuel at a nearby gas station. After a while, Sean approaches Alan with the lunchbox in hand and puts the headphones on his ears. The sounds from the box begin playing, which puts the director to sleep. Sean then goes outside the building and strolls around while smoking. The injured Alan sleeps for a while but soon wakes up due to agonizing pain. In the meantime, Ray has already refueled the raft and returns just in time to help his old friend. He says they should leave immediately, but Alan insists he watch the camera recording from the boat. Ray obliges and soon discovers the horrible truth. Sean was recording on the front deck the entire time when the people suddenly disappeared. Distraught by this revelation, Ray rushes outside the building and manages to pin Sean down. He demands to know the truth, and the latter eventually opens up. It is then revealed that Sean is a mercenary hired by the Norwegian military. He was sent on the trip to film the capabilities of a high-tech supersonic weapon. The people who were exposed to the radiation from the weapon have been vaporized out of existence. Furthermore, Sean explains that the device he carries inside the lunchbox serves as some sort of a protecting shield. The sounds from it make the listener immune from the weapon's impact. That is why Alan and Ray didn't disappear like the rest of the people as they had listened to the device earlier. However, Alan fell ill because he consumed the whale meat, which was contaminated by the radiation spread by the weapon. Sean also mentions that a group of soldiers were supposed to extract him from the boat after everyone else was dead. But he can't reach them since the satellite phone they gave him didn't work. Upon hearing all of this, Ray is stunned and he cannot believe that such a weapon exists. Following this, he heads inside but doesn't say anything to his friend. Alan, on the other hand, seems to have come to terms with the fact that he's going to die. Ray also realizes this, so he gives him some space and leaves the room. While he waits outside, Alan records a goodbye video on his phone where he tells his wife to take care of herself. After Alan is done, he hands Ray the phone and tells him to make it home safe. The latter is distraught to see his friend like this, but he quietly takes the phone and leaves the building. However, he too is uncertain about his chances of survival. Ray thus puts the phone along with the camera inside a waterproof bag and throws it out to the sea, hoping that someone else will find it. After a while, Sean's satellite phone receives a message from his employer. It reads that they'll be on the island in 30 minutes. This excites Sean, so he rushes back to the building and shares this message with the two Americans. Following this, the trio, including Alan, who is being carried in a wheelbarrow, leave their hideout. They stop to rest inside another building not far off from where they were. Alan's declining health is slowing them down considerably, so Sean says he's heading to the extraction point alone. He really hopes his employer would be able to do something about Alan's condition but is unsure about it. Just a few seconds after he takes off, Alan passes away in Ray's arms. Meanwhile, Sean arrives at the extraction point, hoping to see a rescue team. But in a shocking twist, he is immediately shot and killed. Back at the building, Ray hears the gunshot, which freaks him out. He rushes to grab a nearby rifle when the landline in the room starts ringing. It is not revealed whether or not Ray decides to take the call. The movie ends as we see the waterproof bag floating in the ocean.
Scrolling through my feed all day, memes and likes, they pave the way. Selfies shining bright and true. In this world we make our debut. Clicking hearts and double taps, streaming shows and midnight apps. Virtual kingdoms we command with a swipe and steady hand. Digital dreams, electric beams. In this world of endless memes, trending topics, chasing views. In this life we choose to cruise. Final moments come and go. What's the latest TV show? Filtered faces, perfect skin, chasing all that's deep within. Hashtags lighting up the night, fighting for the latest hype. Stories vanish with the sun, but new ones have just begun. Digital dreams, electric beams. In this world of endless memes, trending topics, chasing views. In this life we choose to cruise. Digital dreams, electric beams. In this world of endless memes, trending topics, chasing views. In this life we choose to cruise. Final moments come and go. What's the latest TV show? Filtered faces, perfect skin, chasing all that's deep within. Hashtags lighting up the night, fighting for the latest hype. Stories vanish with the sun, but new ones have just begun.